chocolate rivers, Oompa Loompas, and magical candy. That was the unforgettable world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We all wanted to step inside it, but while the magic stayed on screen, many cast members were facing heartbreaking death, financial collapse, and personal struggles far darker than the movie itself. Let's find out, because their real stories are more emotional than fans ever imagined. Freddie Highmore as Charlie Bucket. Charlie Bucket wandered through Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with shy smiles, wide-eyed wonder, and a quiet kindness that made him feel like the only truly innocent soul inside Wonka's bizarre world. Born on February 14, 1992, in London, England, Freddie Highmore was just 13 years old during the film and quickly became one of the most respected child actors of his generation. By 2026, Freddie Highmore is 34 years old and remains known for maintaining one of the most private lifestyles in modern Hollywood. Highmore focused intensely on education, creative control, and carefully chosen acting projects while continuing to expand his work behind the camera. But that quiet success came with enormous pressure hidden from public view. During the long production years of The Good Doctor, Highmore faced exhausting schedules that often stretched across endless filming days while balancing acting, producing, and directing duties at the same time. The constant workload placed him under severe mental and physical strain, forcing him to protect his personal life more aggressively to avoid burnout. Rather than chasing celebrity culture, he deliberately stayed away from social media and public drama to preserve his mental health. Sir Christopher Lee, as Dr. Wilbur Wonka. Dr. Wilbur Wonka towered over Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with cold discipline, perfect posture, and the intimidating voice of a father who treated candy like a dangerous disease instead of childhood joy. Born on May 27, 1922, in London, England, Christopher Lee was already 83 years old during the film and brought enormous presence and authority to Willy Wonka's strict dentist father. Even with limited screen time, his performance added emotional weight to the strange family trauma hidden beneath Wonka's bizarre personality. Long before this role, Sir Christopher Lee had already become one of the most legendary actors in cinematic history through decades of unforgettable villainous and commanding roles. His towering voice, aristocratic appearance, and unmatched screen presence made him an icon across fantasy, horror, and adventure films for generations of audiences. In recognition of his extraordinary contributions to the arts, he was officially knighted by the British Crown. Remarkably, even after turning 90, Lee refused to slow down and continued acting, recording music, and attending creative projects despite his declining health. During his final years, he battled serious heart complications and respiratory failure while still maintaining the relentless work ethic that defined his entire life. After a brief hospitalization in London, Sir Christopher Lee passed away on June 7, 2015, at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital at the age of 93. The man who once terrified audiences as Dracula ultimately left behind one of the most towering legacies in the history of world cinema. Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka drifted through Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with awkward smiles, eerie politeness, and childlike behavior that made the candy genius feel both magical and deeply unsettling at the same time. Born on June 9, 1963 in Owensboro, Kentucky, Johnny Depp was 42 years old when he transformed the character into one of the strangest and most memorable figures in modern fantasy cinema. His unusual performance became one of the defining elements that gave the film its dark fairy tale atmosphere. By 2026, Johnny Depp is 63 years old and has largely stepped away from major Hollywood franchises to focus on independent films, directing projects, painting, and touring with his rock band Hollywood Vampires. Although he won the highly publicized defamation trial against Amber Heard in 2022, the years of courtroom battles and non-stop media attention left visible emotional scars. That public downfall became especially painful because Depp spent years watching his personal life turn into global entertainment. Endless headlines, accusations, and online debates pushed him into severe emotional exhaustion and physical stress, while millions of strangers judged every detail of his private life. Even after rebuilding part of his reputation, Depp chose a quieter life in Europe far away from the chaos that nearly destroyed both his career and mental stability. David Kelly as Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe is the one person in the film who still believed life could suddenly become magical again. Born on July 11, 1929, in Dublin, Ireland, David Kelly was 76 years old during the film and brought enormous heart and tenderness to Charlie's beloved grandfather. His comforting performance became one of the emotional foundations that made the story feel hopeful despite all its strange fantasy. However, that acting is not come from his innate. David Kelly had spent more than half a century building a respected acting career and earning admiration throughout Ireland and Britain. He remained especially beloved for his warm comedic presence and eventually received a Lifetime Achievement Honor at the Irish Film and Television Awards in 2005. Away from Hollywood, Kelly preferred a peaceful family life with his wife and children in Dublin rather than celebrity culture or public attention. As old age slowly weakened his health, Kelly faced increasing respiratory problems and physical decline during his final years. After a short illness connected to complications involving his breathing and overall health, he passed away peacefully in a Dublin hospital on February 12, 2012, at the age of 82. His death deeply saddened audiences because the kindness he showed on screen felt so genuine that many fans viewed him almost like a real grandfather figure. Even decades later, Grandpa Joe remains one of the warmest memories from the film for an entire generation of viewers. Helena Bonham Carter as Mrs. Bucket. Wrapped in old sweaters and speaking with soft, comforting warmth, Mrs. Bucket felt like the emotional glue holding Charlie's fragile little family together inside Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Born on May 26, 1966, in London, England, Helena Bonham Carter was 39 years old during the film and brought surprising tenderness and emotional depth to the struggling mother role. Her gentle performance added real heart to the movie's strange and chaotic fantasy world. By 2026, Helena Bonham Carter is 60 years old and remains one of Britain's most acclaimed actresses, earning major recognition through projects like The King's Speech and The Crown. However, the pressure of maintaining relevance in an industry obsessed with youth affected her confidence and mental well-being in recent years. That emotional struggle became even heavier after the painful end of her long relationship with director Tim Burton. Their separation left Helena dealing with intense loneliness and a lingering sense of instability after years of building both a family and creative partnership together. She needed significant time to emotionally recover from the breakup while quietly reevaluating her life away from public attention. In the end, the woman who played Charlie's comforting mother spent years privately searching for her own sense of emotional security again. Noah Taylor as Mr. Bucket. Mr. Bucket brought nervous smiles, frozen hands, and the defeated posture of a man trying desperately to provide for his family. Born on September 4, 1969, in London, England, Noah Taylor was 36 years old during the film and gave Mr. Bucket a painfully realistic sense of struggle and humility. His quiet performance helped make Charlie's family feel believable beneath all the candy-colored fantasy surrounding them. By 2026, Noah Taylor is 57 years old and continues working steadily across international film and television projects while living a mostly private life in England. Over the years, he became widely respected for memorable performances in projects such as Shine, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, and Game of Thrones. However, Taylor has also spoken indirectly through interviews about the growing instability faced by middle-aged supporting actors in the modern entertainment industry. As Hollywood changed after the pandemic era, Taylor struggled with the financial uncertainty and constant travel required to keep finding quality acting opportunities between the United Kingdom, Australia, and the United States. That pressure pushed him toward a quieter lifestyle centered around painting and personal reflection rather than celebrity culture. That was why Taylor instead retreated further from the spotlight to protect his peace of mind. And he spent much of his real life quietly battling the same economic and emotional pressures faced by ordinary people everywhere. Deep Roy, as Oompa Loompa, the tiny workers marching with identical haircuts, mischievous smirks, and perfectly synchronized dance moves were all brought to life by one exhausted performer. Deep Roy. Born on December 1st, 1956 in Nairobi, Kenya, Deep Roy was 48 years old during the film and spent endless hours repeating the same choreography, facial expressions, and movements to create an entire army of Oompa Loompas by himself. His physical precision and unusual screen presence became one of the movie's most unforgettable elements. By 2026, Deep Roy is 69 years old and lives a much quieter life in Los Angeles after decades spent appearing in legendary fantasy and science fiction franchises. However, worsening mobility problems and chronic joint pain have made physically demanding acting roles nearly impossible for him in recent years. That physical decline has been emotionally difficult because acting once gave Roy a sense of identity after spending much of his life being judged for his height, caused by a congenital growth disorder. Standing only 1.32 meters tall, he often faced cruel stereotypes and limited casting opportunities in Hollywood, despite his remarkable talent and work ethic. As his body became weaker with age, Roy struggled with the emotional reality of slowly losing the ability to perform the kind of roles he loved most. In the end, the man who filled Wonka's factory with energy and movement was forced to quietly confront the limitations of his own body off-screen. AnnaSophia Robb as Violet Beauregarde. Violet Beauregarde stormed around the factory chewing gum non-stop, showing off every achievement she had ever won, and acting like losing simply did not exist in her world. Born on December 8, 1993, in Denver, Colorado, AnnaSophia Robb was just 12 years old during the film and instantly stood out with her fierce confidence and sharp comedic timing. By 2026, AnnaSophia Robb is 33 years old and continues building a respected career through acting, producing, and environmental activism. Following Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, she earned praise through emotional coming-of-age projects and became one of the better-known actresses from her generation of child stars. Even so, Robb has openly discussed the pressure and insecurity that came with trying to transition from childhood fame into serious adult acting work. That transition became emotionally exhausting after years of rejection and constant comparisons to the roles that first made her famous. As Hollywood opportunities became more competitive, Robb struggled with anxiety, self-doubt, and the fear of being permanently trapped inside the image of a former child actress. Instead of letting that pressure destroy her confidence, she stepped away at times to focus on education, environmental causes, and creative work behind the camera to regain control over her future. Thanks to that, she learned how to survive an industry that often forgets its young stars once they grow up. Julia Winter as Veruca Salt. Veruca Salt stomped the factory's screaming demands, rolled her eyes at everyone around her, and acted like the entire factory existed only to satisfy her next obsession. Born on March 17, 1993, in Stockholm, Sweden, Julia Winter was just 12 years old during the film and delivered such a convincing performance that many audiences genuinely disliked her character. Her sharp attitude and spoiled tantrums made Veruca one of the movie's most unforgettable children. By 2026, Julia Winter is 33 years old and lives an extremely private life far away from Hollywood. You know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory became both the beginning and the end of her acting career. After leaving the entertainment industry completely, she focused on education and eventually moved into work connected to the healthcare field while avoiding public attention almost entirely. That decision came after the overwhelming pressure of sudden fame became emotionally unbearable for a 12-year-old child. Public reactions toward Veruca's cruel personality blurred into real-life criticism directed at Julia herself, exposing her to harsh judgment and intense scrutiny at a very young age. Rather than continue chasing celebrity status, she chose to quietly return to normal life between England and Sweden in order to protect her mental health and rebuild her identity outside the shadow of childhood fame. What once looked like the perfect beginning to a Hollywood career ultimately became the reason she disappeared from the spotlight forever. Jordan Fry as Mike Teavee. Mike Teavee, always obsessed with technology, and constantly acted like he was smarter than every adult trapped inside Wonka's factory. Born on June 7, 1993, in Spokane, Washington, Jordan Fry was only 12 years old during the film and perfectly captured Mike's sarcastic attitude and restless energy. His performance turned the television-addicted troublemaker into one of the story's funniest and most chaotic characters. By 2026, Jordan Fry is 33 years old and lives a far quieter life compared to the mainstream success many expected after his early acting career. Instead of remaining inside the spotlight, Fry eventually shifted toward smaller independent projects and a more private lifestyle focused on family, travel, and personal healing. That career slowdown became emotionally difficult after years of rejection and feeling forgotten by an industry that once seemed full of promise. The inability to secure major adult roles pushed Fry into a long period of frustration and uncertainty about his future. Rather than continue chasing fame at any cost, he chose to step away from the pressure of mainstream Hollywood to protect his mental well-being and rediscover happiness outside celebrity culture. The boy who once played the loudest child in Wonka's factory eventually found peace only after leaving the chaos of fame behind. Philip Wiegrotz as Augustus Gloop. Augustus Gloop barreled through Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with chocolate-stained cheeks, endless appetite, and the carefree excitement of a boy who seemed ready to eat the entire factory by himself. Born on February 17, 1993, in Magdeburg, Germany, Philip Wiegrotz was only 12 years old during the film and instantly became one of the movie's most memorable young faces. By 2026, Philip Wiegrotz is 33 years old and no longer works in the entertainment industry after stepping away from acting years ago. Following a few additional film projects in Germany, he eventually chose a completely different future and built a stable life as a professional software engineer. He quietly disappeared from Hollywood and focused on education and long-term personal stability. That decision came after years of frustration over being repeatedly pressured to maintain a heavier appearance for comedic roles. The constant expectation to stay overweight negatively affected both his physical health and self-image during his teenage years, making him increasingly uncomfortable inside the entertainment industry. As the pressure of typecasting grew stronger, Philip realized acting no longer felt healthy or sustainable for his future. Walking away from fame ultimately gave him something Hollywood never could: a calmer and healthier life built on his own terms. Missy Pyle as Mrs. Beauregard. Every time Violet Beauregard started bragging or chewing gum like a champion athlete, Mrs. Beauregard stood nearby with the intense smile and over-the-top pride of a parent treating childhood like an Olympic sport inside Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Born on November 16, 1972, in Houston, Texas, Missy Pyle was 33 years old during the film and brought explosive comedic energy to Mrs. Beauregard. Her exaggerated performance turned the pushy stage mom character into one of the funniest adults in Wonka's chaotic factory. By 2026, Missy Pyle is 54 years old and continues appearing in television and film while balancing acting with music and environmental activism. Over the years, she became known for scene-stealing supporting performances in comedy, drama, and satire across Hollywood. However, Pyle has also spoken indirectly about the emotional exhaustion that came from navigating failed relationships and the pressures of aging inside an industry obsessed with youth and constant visibility. That emotional strain became more noticeable after multiple marriages ended, and she found herself confronting loneliness during middle age while still trying to maintain a demanding career. At the same time, her outspoken support for environmental causes exposed her to criticism, stress, and financial pressure connected to activism work she deeply believed in. Rather than retreat completely from public life, Pyle turned increasingly toward music, smaller television appearances, and creative projects that brought her personal joy instead of constant pressure. So she slowly built a quieter version of happiness for herself. Liz Smith as Grandma Georgina. Grandma Georgina rested quietly beneath the blankets with sleepy smiles, gentle confusion, and the soft warmth that made Charlie's tiny home feel comforting despite the family's poverty. Born on December 11, 1921 in Scunthorpe, England, Liz Smith was 84 years old during the film and brought tenderness and natural humor to Charlie's lovable grandmother. Sadly, Liz Smith passed away on December 24, 2016, at the age of 95 after a long battle with complications caused by multiple strokes she suffered during the final years of her life. She spent her last years in Worthing, England, under close medical care after her health declined rapidly following a series of severe strokes in 2009 that forced her into retirement. That painful decline became especially heartbreaking because Smith had remained active and beloved by audiences well into her 80s. Even after decades in British television and comedy, she continued working with remarkable energy before illness slowly took away her independence and physical strength. Friends close to the actress described how the strokes dramatically changed her quality of life, leaving the once vibrant performer increasingly fragile and exhausted. Yet despite those struggles, she remained deeply loved by fans who still remembered the kindness and warmth she brought to every grandmotherly role she played on screen. David Morris as Grandpa George. Grandpa George grumbled through Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with sarcastic complaints, impatient reactions, and the stubborn attitude of an old man who acted irritated by everything while secretly caring deeply for his family. Born on January 1, 1924, in England, David Morris was 81 years old during the film and gave Grandpa George a believable mix of crankiness and hidden affection. His presence helped make the crowded Bucket household feel real and emotionally lived in. Only 2 years after the movie's release, David Morris passed away suddenly on October 29, 2007, at the age of 83, after suffering a severe heart attack caused by chronic cardiovascular disease. He died in Watford, Hertfordshire, England, becoming the first of Charlie's 4 bedridden grandparents from the film to pass away in real life. That loss came shortly after one of the biggest moments of his late-life acting career. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory unexpectedly introduced him to worldwide audiences during the final chapter of his career, but his declining heart condition soon began weakening him physically behind the scenes. As his health deteriorated after the film's success, those close to him described his later years as increasingly difficult and exhausting. Even so, audiences still remember him as the grumpy grandfather whose hidden love for Charlie quietly softened some of the film's most emotional moments. Eileen Essel as Grandma Josephine. Grandma Josephine always watched over Charlie's tiny family with kind eyes, gentle smiles, and the calming presence of someone who still believed happiness could survive even in the poorest home. Born on October 8, 1922 in London, England, Eileen Essel was already 83 years old during the film and brought warmth and quiet sincerity to Charlie's loving grandmother. Her soft-spoken performance helped complete the emotional heart of the Bucket family. Eileen Essel passed away on February 15, 2015, in London at the age of 92 after her health gradually weakened from age-related immune and physical decline during her final years. Unlike most Hollywood actors, Essel's acting journey began unusually late in life after spending much of her earlier years working as a teacher before finally pursuing professional acting in her 70s. That remarkable late success made her story especially inspiring to audiences and fellow performers alike. Even after entering the entertainment industry at an age when most people retire, Essel approached acting with energy, humor, and genuine enthusiasm that made her instantly memorable on screen. However, As old age slowly weakened her immune system and overall health, she quietly stepped away from public life and returned to a peaceful existence in London. Her passing in 2015 marked the end of a deeply unconventional career. Philip Filmar as Slugworth. With his cold stare, mysterious whispers, and shadowy appearances around the factory, Slugworth felt like the kind of man who could turn a simple chocolate contest into something dangerous inside Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Born on March 13, 1957, in the United Kingdom, Philip Filmar was 48 years old during the film and brought a quiet sense of tension and suspicion to the mysterious rival candy businessman. By 2026, Philip Filmar is 69 years old and continues working steadily as both an actor and writer in the British entertainment industry. He built a respected career through character roles and developed a strong creative partnership with director Tim Burton after Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In recent years, he has largely maintained a quieter professional life away from major Hollywood attention while continuing selective film and television work like Sweeney Todd, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and so on. As he grew older, opportunities for darker, character-driven roles became more limited, pushing him toward smaller creative projects and writing work behind the scenes. Even so, fans of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory still remember him as the mysterious figure whose eerie presence added another layer of paranoia to Wonka's bizarre world. So after more than 20 years, the magical world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory changed far more than anyone expected. Which cast member shocked you the most then and now? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite memories from the movie before you go.